BRRR Explained, Step 1, Buy, and how I'm making BRRR work for me this year. So feel free to steal my guide for financial freedom. So guys, this is my BRRR Explained series, and in particular this is step 1, the buy part portion of this guide and series. And this is how I'm going to be making this property investing strategy work for me this year. And it's for beginners because I'm a beginner, and it's from my personal experiences. And this is basically the BRRR guide that I wish I had when I started out my property investing journey. Financial freedom, here we come. So if you're looking to buy your first investment property and you're hoping to use this strategy, then you've come to the right place. This is the right video for you. And keep watching till the end because I'm going to be going through everything of the buy portion of this strategy. So that's going from actually finding and sourcing and analysing a deal through negotiation and all the way through to complete the purchase. So let's get into it. So just a quick disclaimer before we get into the buy portion of the BRRR method, you need to really have worked out your why. So you need to know why you're buying the properties, what your strategy is going forward, and I have got a couple of videos on my YouTube channel, and it just sets out how you can sort of plan your way and what you're wanting from your property journey. So you can watch those videos now, and that will just give you a bit of sort of background into how and get you to the start to where you're going to actually be in a position to purchase that first property. And it just makes sure that you are actually buying with purpose and that you are buying strategically in accordance with your own personal property journey and property plan that you've set out. So pause the video and just watch those videos first so you can get a bit of background on that. So once you've done all of that background work, you can then go on to this point, and this is point 1, and this is researching. So you need to start by identifying your target area, researching all of the market trends, just knowing what your overall market strategy is going to be and knowing that thoroughly. So you basically need to be gathering information on rental yields in a particular area that you're looking at, local demand for properties, what you're going to be able to rent the properties for, and you need to gather just general information on the property prices in the areas that you're looking to go for. So that is, again, that's why that goes back to what I was saying previously. That's why you need to have worked out your property plan. That will give you your property smart goals, and then you need to make sure that you're researching property prices and rental yield and local demand for all of those, so that it then backs up all of the smart goals that you've set yourself in the first place. This then just ensures that all of your long, medium and short-term SMART goals are all in line with the information that you've gathered, so you are making decisions on your purchasing of properties based on actual facts and data, and it's data driven. And this is where, obviously, if you've got that local knowledge where you know certain areas where you're planning to invest, you know things like the crime rates, you know things like you've got a general feel for that area and what type of tenants are going to be wanting to rent in those areas, and that aligns with what you've got on your property plan. You can then get a feel for what the ROI is going to be, and just general things like that, so that you know that, again, you're making these decisions to purchase properties based on facts and not feelings. So for example, I generally tend to stick to the Nottingham area, so that's where I'd like to invest. 1, because it aligns with my overall property SMART goals and my property journey and my property plan, and 2, I've got that local knowledge, so I know certain areas roughly the kind of rent that I can expect to achieve, and then I can go back and compare that against my goals that I've set myself to make sure that I'm actually purchasing a property that's going to give me that return that's actually going to link back into my plan, and it's actually going to give me the rental yield that I'm actually wanting to get at that time, so that it's covering everything that I'm wanting it to cover. But obviously, if you're a remote investor, you might not have that local knowledge. So that's why, again, on all of my other videos, I say it's really, really good to build up those relationships with professionals like local estate agents to whichever area you've designated, then that's where you're going to be investing in. So it's good to build those relationships so that you know that you're making an informed decision on properties that you're wanting to purchase. And by building those relationships with these professionals, you can always ask them their opinions. Obviously, make sure you're not going to annoy them and you're not bombarding them with questions all the time. But if you are making those sort of initial inquiries and they can get back to you, you've got a well-rounded opinion, so that, again, it feeds back into your data so that you can make these data-driven decisions. And all of this research is actually going to come in real handy for later on as well. I'll explain this a bit more as we go into the video. And all of this market research and information is going to be really important and have a really great purpose, and I'll go through that later on in the video. So then at this point as well, I'm also going back to my project plan, and what I'm doing is I'm just analysing from the photos that are on the obviously on the ad for the estate agent, obviously whether you've got through that through Rightmove or whatever, but I'm looking at that general advertisement from the estate agent, and I'm roughly seeing, right, from the photos, if there are enough photos, right, well, this by default I always think, right, it might need a new roof, so that's going to be, and I've been averaging new roofs being about £6,500, so I'm roughly doing that, and I'm pulling up my project plan, and what I'll do as well, I will go through this in a second, a bit later on in the video, but I'm just roughly popping in really high level figures based on looking on those photos on the actual advertisement from the estate agent. So I'm saying, right, this might need a new roof, so that's going in my risk register, and that's going to be approximately £6,500, or it's going to need a light refurb, so therefore I'm just accounting for a carpet clean, for example. Or if it looks like from the photos, if I can see it looks like it needs completely new carpets, right, this is the amount and I'm using figures from historical figures from obviously the last projects that I've done to populate that initially, and that's doing that initial desktop study. So then what I'll do is I will make a block booking of viewings, so properties that I'm interested in, I will pop those down on a spreadsheet, and with the contact number and the estate agent on. I like to keep this because it just gives me sort of a database of properties that I've already looked at and that I'm wanting to look at, so then I can build, again, it's just data for you so that you can look back and it's useful for yourself. So I'll actually then phone up the estate agent, I'll have a bit of a conversation with them, try and get as much information as I can about the property. For example, I'm wanting to know how long it's been on the Rightmove for. If it said it's been reduced, I'm going to probe them even further to see if I can find out why it's been reduced. Obviously, it's hit and miss whether how much information the estate agents are actually going to give you, because obviously that's not within their best interest. Their interest is to actually sell the property. So it's trying to get a feel from the estate agent so that you can, and then making notes on what they're telling you, because this is going to come in real handy later on when, if you actually see a property that you actually want to put in an offer for, because it's going to actually give you scope to negotiate. So it's going to be something that you can sort of use as a bargaining tool, so to speak, to negotiate the price down. So I'll have my block bookings all sort of booked in onto my calendar, and then that's when I go out. And now again, I've got videos on what I look for when I'm actually going out on to view a property, and some of my tips and tricks as to how I actually view properties and how I take my photos and things like that, so that I can look back later on for reference. And by the way, my name's Sabrina, and I'm literally documenting all of my whole property journey here on YouTube, all the ups and downs, mistakes that I've made, so that you don't have to as well. And I'm literally on a mission to try and get to 1k subs so I can reach and help more people. So yeah, if you could help me out at least by subscribing, that would be wonderful, so then I can reach more people and show my ups and my downs from my personal experience of trying to grow my property portfolio here on YouTube. Thanks, and a massive thank you to those who have already subscribed. Yeah, so then once I have actually viewed and I've looked at the property and I've asked all my questions, as much questions as I can possibly ask. For example, you can never actually get the actual, obviously, price that a vendor's willing to take from the estate agent, but I normally say, I know you're not going to be able to tell me the exact price that's going to be good to offer, but just so I don't waste your time, I'm not wasting the vendor's time, is there a range that they're actually looking to get from the property between? They'll either answer or they don't answer, you know, but if they do answer, it's quite a good bit of information that you can get. And also, I would say as well, whatever answer you get to that, just take that with a pinch of salt, because obviously the estate agents have got other ulterior motives as well. So yeah. So what I then do is I come back home, and what we're going to do is actually go back onto the computer, and this is my actual property project plan that I do. So I'll input a couple of things. Obviously, once I've taken photos and things like that, I can also send that to my builder and get his opinion, and he'll come back to me and say, well, actually this might cost this will probably cost this, and he'll give you a better estimate. It will still be an estimate, but it's something that you can input here onto the project plan. So if we go through this, And this is a real life example from the project that I have just done. So what I'll do is I'll open up my scope of works, and within this it's more sort of itemized, so I can input a lot of the, get more into more detail and put in some of the itemized bits that I need to look at and repair. And the most important thing as well here is that we're actually looking at risk register items, which I like to keep separate from my contingency, because these are items that are major. For example, like I always say, roof repair. If a property looks like it needs a whole new roof or whatever, I'll put a portion of money in this risk register, and then this adds everything up separately. So you've got a cost for your risk register items, and you've got money set aside from your budget for these risk register items, which is separate to your contingency. And this is great to give to your lender as well if you're going for a bridge loan, because then it just makes you look that bit more professional, because you're actually saying, well look, these are items that I think are high risk, which I'm using, and it's separate to my contingency as well. So that just gives you a bit more added professionalism. And also you can also add in approximate dates on here on your program as well, because obviously your bridge loan lender will also ask for an approximate program as well for you, so you can pop that in. And also, as I said, be a bit more don't be too conservative with that. Always give yourself a bit of an extra room. As I put in my other videos, it just gives you a bit more wiggle room to get the project done, depending on what funding type you are actually going for. So then once I've filled out all of those items, again, it is really high level. It kind of spits out on this spreadsheet, it spits out a yield and an ROCE that I've got here for me as well. So that helps me then to make an even more of an informed decision. So I've got my desktop research from before, from the local markets, the rentals, and I can compare this to the expected rent that I'm thinking that I'm probably going to be getting from that property, and then that's going to inform my decision on whether I'm going to put in an offer or not. So yeah, so once you've got both of those bits of research, you've got your desktop study that you've done before you've gone out and viewed a property, and then you've come back and compared that against and popped that into your property, your project plan, and then you've got your next set of information for your expected sort of return on investments that you're going to get. That is where you then can negotiate. So that leads me on to my next point, the negotiation part of purchasing. So for example, if you do spot that it's going to need a new roof, or the floor feels a bit like it's a bit uneven, you're thinking, right, well I might need to put in a new floor. All these things, you can use these in your back pocket so that you can then negotiate a lower price. And also what you've done from your desktop study as well, if you've known how long the property's been on the market for, if it's been on for quite a while, those, again, that's the third thing as well that you've got in your back pocket so that you can then negotiate down a price. Do not be afraid to put in a low offer. You don't want to put in an offer that's so low that you're wasting people's time, but you want to put in an offer that's low so that you've got room to negotiate and you can move up, and you can actually negotiate a good price, because as I said, most of the profit you're going to be making from each deal, you're going to want to put that in, build that in from the beginning. So do not be afraid to go in there with a cheeky offer, test the waters and see how people feel. And obviously if you've done your due diligence and you've got all of your information here, you've got your desktop study from your market research that you've done, and actually going around there and actually seeing things that will need to be repaired in the property, that's all there that you can use to negotiate the price down and build in profit from the beginning. And I can do more videos, and I probably will do more videos on negotiation as well in the future. So if that's something that you're interested in, just pop negotiation in the comments, and that just lets me know that that's something that you're wanting to see from me in the future. And then so once you've kind of negotiated your deal, then it moves on to the next point, which is sort of finalising the deal. This is where you do all your paperwork and you get everything all finalised through your solicitors and everything. So you really need to make sure you have on hand your authenticated ID. This is where basically someone, a professional, somebody that knows you, sort of, you have your ID printed out on a hard copy and they sign it and say something along the lines of, I am such and such from such and such company, and I say certify that this person and this is the likeness of this person, and then they date it. So a rough sort of sentence like that so that it's authenticated. You'll also need an authenticated proof of address. You'll need, if you are working, you'll need to be providing 3 months worth of your personal or business bank statements. You'll need 3 months worth of pay slips as well, if you're obviously to show your form of income. So you'll need all of your trading, tax and information if that's applicable. If you're self-employed, you'll need to provide this. As well, if you're like myself and you're purchasing it in a company name, you'll need to have gone through independent legal advice. This is separate to your solicitors that you're using to go through the conveyancing purchase in the UK. You'll need that'll be separate, just to show that you can act as a guarantor and that you're entering into this agreement with your lender through sound mind. So you'll have to actually budget for that as well. That's a separate fee. And what they'll kind of run through is board minutes and things like that. So once you get a template for that, you can use that moving forward. But they'll run through board meeting minutes, and they'll get you, either if you're a sole director, you can sign for it, or there's an option to sign as a legal secretary. So either one of those. Myself, I just sign as a director. And as well, you will actually have to act as a personal guarantor to your company if you are purchasing in a company name. This is why I always say it's almost like, if you do have your own property invested company like what I do, it's like you're talking about yourself in the third person. So your company is a separate entity to you. So you will have to personally guarantee your company for the payments for your lender, just so that obviously if anything does happen and the company is unable to make the payments, the lender can therefore come after you. And most times the lender will actually require you to go to have this independent legal advice and also to sign a personal guarantor document. And it's something that you need to think about. You need to have these sessions with this independent solicitor so that you're aware of what you are actually signing up to and what your obligations are to that lender, and he will go through that. So make sure that you have all of your questions ready to ask the solicitor when they come, so that you've got everything out of that session that you can, and you know exactly what you're signing up to, because it's not something that you should do lightly, guys. It's a legal agreement. So it's to stop basically people dissolving a company and then dissolving all obligations to that lender, and then therefore then running off into the sunset and not having to do anything or pay anything back. This is a way for the lender to tie you in personally, separate to your company, into these payments. So if the company falls back, even though the company is yourself, if they fall behind, they can personally go for you and go after your assets, your liabilities, or whatever you've signed up to in this agreement. So make sure that you use that session to the fullest. You know exactly what you're signing up for. You know exactly what is going to happen if should the worst happen, guys. It's something that you shouldn't enter into lightly. So yeah, going back to purchasing and closing the deal. So then your other solicitors that are dealing with the conveyancing process, they will go through all of that. You'll go the property that you're bidding on or you're putting an offer on, you'll get a independent company to come out acting for the lender that will do evaluation. Again, I've got videos on this as well, that will do evaluation and basically ensure that this is a good, sound investment for them to lend you the money again. So that will happen, and then obviously your solicitor will do their due diligence in terms of land registry and ownership and all stuff like that. They'll get all those done. You'll get other reports, for example, stuff like in Nottingham, there's quite a lot of mining and coal and tunnels and all sorts going off in Nottingham below ground. That'll be part of the conveyancing sort of process as well, is where they will look at, for example, mining reports or flood risks assessments and things like that. So you'll get all of those reports being done as well by your chosen solicitor. So yeah, when you're buying in a company name, it just adds another layer for you to sort of get through and punch through. And what I'll do again is I can do videos on purchasing in a company name in the description box if that's something that you're interested in as well. And also, guys, a little bonus as well, if something comes up and is flagged up on the valuation, and obviously and then there's maybe a down value or something like that, again, that is another bargaining tip that you can use to then go back to the vendor and just say, well, this has been flagged up on the valuation, and chances are, because they've gone so far through the process, they might have spent money as well on solicitors, they might just go for that, and then you could get a bit of money off. So that's another bargaining tip as well. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to continue to subscribe to the channel so that you can see the next part in the BRRR series that I'm doing. Any questions you do have as well, guys, I'm here to help. I'm happy to answer them. Just pop them in the comments below and I'll get back to you. Thanks, guys. Bye.